the Carpenters' hit that wowed two Beatles. Anyone exploring the deep well of 60s songwriting will uncover numerous classics that were initially recorded by one artist before being immortalized in a singular definitive version. Take I Heard It Through the Grapevine, penned by Norman Whitfield and Barrett Strong for Motown Records in 1966. It was first recorded by Gladys Knight and the Pips and the Miracles before Marvin Gaye transformed it into a soul masterpiece in 1967. Similarly, Suspicious Minds was an outright flop when released by its writer Mark James in 1968, but it became one of Elvis Presley's most iconic hits when he reinterpreted it a year later. Another such song is They Long to Be Close to You. Written by Burt Bacharach and Hal David, it first emerged as a single by actor Richard Chamberlain in 1963. The following year, Dionne Warwick included it on her album Make Way for Dionne Warwick, and Dusty Springfield recorded it for her 1967 album Where Am I Going? Yet it wasn't until 1970 that the song's full potential was realized, when a young sibling duo called the Carpenters gave it new life. Their rendition, lush and intoxicating, set the standard for a generation of 70s soft pop ballads. But what truly elevated the song was Karen Carpenter's rich contralto voice, paired with her brother Richard's meticulous arrangement. At the dawn of the new decade, when Woodstock was still fresh in memory and artists like Jimi Hendrix and The Doors were pushing creative boundaries, They Long to Be Close to You stood in stark contrast to the prevailing musical landscape. Yet, despite its sentimentality, it remains a masterpiece of composition and arrangement, carried by Karen's effortlessly emotive vocal delivery. Not long after its release, Karen Carpenter received high praise from none other than the Beatles. Paul McCartney reportedly described her as having the best female voice in the world, melodic, tuneful, and distinctive. In 1971, John Lennon, upon spotting Karen in Los Angeles, walked up to her and simply said, "I love your voice." The Carpenters had long drawn inspiration from the Beatles, even recording a melancholic rendition of Ticket to Ride on their 1969 debut album Offering. Though the song only reached number 54 on the Billboard charts, their label, A&M, was determined to find them a hit. A&M, co-founded by trumpeter Herb Alpert, had seen success with Bacharach and David's This Guy's in Love with You in 1968. When searching for the perfect song for the Carpenters, Alpert once again turned to Bacharach. He met with Karen and Richard, introducing the song casually. One day we were talking with Herb, and he said, "Have you heard this song Close to You?" Richard recalled in an early 70s interview with NME, "Why don't you see what you can do with it?" So we did. Alpert provided Richard with only a basic version of the song, melody, lyrics, and chord structure, leaving him free to craft his own arrangement. Herb thought the song had potential and told me, "I want you to do anything you'd like with this. I have a recording, but I don't want you to hear it until after you do yours because I don't want anything to influence your arrangement." Richard explained in a 2018 interview with You Discover Music. With Bacharach's blessing, Richard reshaped the song, keeping only the distinctive piano quintuplets and the bridge's closing motif. The recording took place at A&M Studios in Hollywood with Jack Doherty producing. The legendary Joe Osborne of the Wrecking Crew played bass, while another Wrecking Crew regular Larry Knechtel played piano on the initial takes. Karen, a skilled drummer, initially handled percussion, but Alpert insisted on bringing in Hal Blaine for the final recording. "I thought it was a little light," Alpert later admitted in an interview with Songfacts. "I suggested very carefully to Karen that maybe Hal Blaine should come in and play drums on it." Blaine, in turn, recommended using a click track, setting the tempo at precisely 88.5 BPM for the final take. For the song's signature flugelhorn solo, Richard had written a part intended for Herb Alpert, but when Alpert wasn't available, session musician Chuck Findlay stepped in. Though initially challenged by the subtle note bends in the arrangement, Findlay nailed the part after some coaching from Richard. A lot of people thought it was Herb. Bacharach did too. Richard later recalled in Randy L. Schmidt's 2012 book, Yesterday Once More, The Carpenters' Reader. Despite skepticism about the Carpenters' soft sound in an era dominated by rock and psychedelia, The meticulous arrangement and Karen's distinct voice made "They Long to Be Close to You" a standout. At the end of the song, I felt it needed the multi-tracked four-part harmony tag that became so well known, Richard later reflected. Herb was absolutely right. This was the perfect song to showcase Karen's and my abilities. The song's orchestration was bold yet elegant, layering harps, delicate piano flourishes, and lush vocal harmonies. Bacharach's lyrics painted a fantastical, almost absurd picture of love. Why do birds suddenly appear every time you are near? And on the day that you were born, the angels got together and decided to create a dream come true. As Stereogum's Tom Bryhan noted in 2019, Karen's delivery walked a fine line between sincerity and wry detachment. She knows it's excessive, and there's a hint of humor in how she delivers those lines, Bryhan wrote. But there's also quiet dejection, like she's the only person in the song who truly understands what it's about. The song's arrangement begins tastefully sparse, opening with Richard's understated CAD 9 C-Maj piano chords before Karen's intimate vocal enters. With each verse, the soundscape expands, drums, bass, and strings subtly amplifying the emotion. At 1:36, Findley's echo-drenched flugelhorn solo sways into the mix, a moment of pure, easy listening bliss. Though recorded to a click track, Hal Blaine and Joe Osborne's groove remains effortlessly smooth and organic. The original mix ran 4 minutes and 36 seconds, but A&M trimmed the extended coda, releasing it as a more radio-friendly 3-minute, 40-second single, a move that paid off handsomely. They Long to Be Close to You hit the airwaves on May 4, 1970, and within 6 weeks it soared to the top of the Billboard Hot 100, becoming A&M's biggest hit since Alpert's This Guy's in Love with You 2 years earlier. It was a moment that cemented the Carpenters' place in music history, and a testament to the power of the right song in the right hands.